Let's show him a thing or three.
Our emotions are in tune, Rex!
Hey guys, it's the Xenoblade 5, and it's safe to say this series of videos has already got off to a good start. I initially planned to do the Byleth video as a one-off, due to both really wanting them and to prove the potential to the people who would complain about there being another Fire Emblem character, which happened anyway. But there are still other characters who I would like to see get added in the second Fighters Pass. So as I was planning that video, I ended up thinking of ideas for another character I want, to the point that I decided to give them their own video as well. That character, or rather characters, are Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And with Byleth getting in, they are now solely my most wanted character for DLC. I really wanted them in the base game, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was too early in development at the time Ultimate's base roster was finalized for them to be considered. So I thought, okay, they could just be DLC. Except...
But I think real hell might be closer to something like this.
Unfortunately, I do think that they'll never be in Smash Bros. Because of this damn Mii costume. I don't think they would add a costume of Rex as DLC if they were just going to make him playable later on because it would make the costume redundant. So while I sadly think this won't happen, the whole point of these videos is to present a what-if scenario, so the character doesn't need to have the likeliest of chances. And seeing quite a few people predict or speculate them for the second Fighters Pass does give me some small, false hope to cling on to act as my motivation for this video. I have previously made a conceptual moveset for Rex and Pyra in my video where I talked about what characters I wanted in Ultimate back when it was first teased, but now I want to present a more updated and expanded moveset for them. Because of Xenoblade's increasing popularity and success since the first game's release, I think we're at the point where the series getting a second rep does feel warranted, and I think they're the best choice for that due to 2 being the most recent game when excluding remasters and expansions, and because they have the most potential to be unique. Rex would definitely not be a clone of Shulk like I saw some people thinking back in Ultimate's early speculation. So now is the opportunity for me to prove that even more here. Here are all my ideas for if Rex and Pyra were in Smash Bros. For stats, Rex would be a mid-weight character and an all-rounder across the board. Average speed, average attack, average launch power, etc. But that takes me straight into Rex and Pyra's gimmick. Obviously, they are a duo fighter. Rex is the main fighter who stands on the same plane as the other characters and does most of the fighting, while Pyra stands in the background like Pokemon Trainer. This simulates how combat works in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. However, unlike Pokemon Trainer, Pyra will always move in the background to follow where Rex is, and is capable of jumping to reach Rex if he's standing on a platform. As the two of them are close to each other, a blue tether will appear between them, just like what happens between drivers and blades during combat in the game. After staying close to each other for a certain amount of time, the tether will become less transparent to signal that it is getting stronger. As the tether gets stronger, so does Rex's stats. His speed, attack, and launch power to opponents all increase. While this stage of the tether is active, and the two remain close to each other for long enough, the tether will grow bigger and make Rex even stronger. Though with each increase of the tether's strength, Pyra's movement speed will become slower as she needs to concentrate more. Finally, after they still remain close to each other for long enough, the tether will turn to a gold color, just like when a driver and blade reach max affinity in combat. And when this happens, Pyra will transform into Mythra. While as Mythra, Rex becomes the strongest he can possibly be, and the Aegis Sword will transform to the Mythra version, which makes all his sword attacks go from fire attribute to light, which really only means he can now kill red Pikmin. Mythra was a little tricky for me to work with because in the lore, she is stronger than Pyra, but in gameplay they have the exact same power level. But I think I managed to find the right balance between this while giving them a unique gimmick that fits with 2's mechanics. However, if Rex moves or is knocked too far away from Pyra, then the tether will break. This causes Rex to become slower and weaker compared to his normal stats, like how all the characters in the game move really slow when the tether isn't present. Pyra will also be briefly stunned by this, and if you had Mythra out, then she'll turn back into Pyra. Then she'll attempt to run back to Rex's side to re-establish the tether and start over from the base level. Playing as Rex and Pyra requires you to be more cautious rather than running all over the place so they can remain close and build up the tether to make them a huge force to be reckoned with. But you will have a decent area to move around without breaking the tether, and Pyra/Mythra does still move while the tether's active, regardless of what level it's at, so it's not like you have to remain planted at one spot the entire time. The important thing to note about this moveset is that Rex will only have Pyra/Mythra as his blade. Every other moveset idea I've seen for Rex gives him multiple blades, but realistically, I think if he did get added, he would only have Pyra and Mythra, like how Joker only uses Arsene, for the exact same reason why I predicted that would be the case for him. If you were to give Rex multiple blades, then that would require making entirely new models and giving them appropriate animations. Also, which ones would you pick? Because there are so many with hardly any having a greater deal of importance than the others. That's why the fighter name is Rex and Pyra rather than just Rex. I also fear the reality that they would have to use the dumb censored Mythra design because...
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is for good boys and girls of many different ages.
Moving on to regular attacks, Rex would have a standard jab that copies his free hit combo he performs in his automatic attack. He would also have a tether grab, in which he uses the anchor shot art, whereby Rex fires his grappling hook straight in front of him, and if an opponent is hit by it, then they are pulled towards him. This could have the potential to be one of the longest grabs in the game, which would be great for bringing opponents into the tether's range when they may otherwise run away. But, again, I'm really bad at thinking of ideas for throws, tilts, and aerials, and Xenoblade's battle mechanics don't give me much to work with either. I guess the up and down throws could be based on launch and smash respectively, but that's all I can think of. Everything else would be typical sword swings in the appropriate direction. But I still am able to come up with ideas for the smash attacks. All of these attacks will be performed by Pyra and Mythra, as they will be based on the specials, where the blade does the attacking. If Rex is separated from them, then he cannot perform smash attacks. The attacks will also be different depending on if it's Pyra or Mythra performing them. The side smash will have Pyra throw the sword in front of Rex and have it spin in place, dealing multiple hits to the opponent before knocking them back. This attack simulates her level 3 special, Blazing End, where she does the same thing. If you have Mythra, then this attack is replaced with her level 2 special, Photon Edge. The animation will have Mythra move super fast, slashing at the same location while trapping the opponent in place before delivering one final, larger slash to end it off. This does more damage and knockback compared to Blazing End. The up smash has Pyra create an explosion above Rex's head, which takes the form of the fireball seen in the effect for the second Sun Blade combo. This does one single hit with strong knockback. Mythra's version of this attack has her create a ball of light as seen in the effect for the Ruinous Weather combo, which deals 2 hits. The first moves the opponent closer to the center of the ball, while the second is an explosion like before. Again, this version does more damage and knockback. Lastly, for the down smash, Pyra will perform her level 1 special, Flame Nova, where she'll spin the sword around herself and Rex before unleashing a big burst of flames on both sides of them. The sword does very little damage as the flame burst is the main bulk of the attack. Mythra's version will have her perform her level 1 special, Ray of Punishment, where she creates an explosion of light surrounding Rex that can hit enemies all around him. This one is only a single hit attack, but you get the idea at this point. More damage and knockback. Now onto the special moves. Each fighter gets 4 special moves, unless you're Terry. And it just so happens that each blade grants their driver 4 arts. While you can only have 3 equipped at a time, I think for Smash Bros. We can take creative liberty and use them all. So each of Rex's specials will correspond to one of the arts that Pyra and Mythra grant him. The standard special will be Sword Bash. This attack has a bit of a wind-up animation as Rex pulls the sword back before performing a fast-forward thrust that slightly propels him forward, dealing a sudden, strong blow to opponents. In the game, this attack does more damage if it hits an enemy in the back. So just like Shulk's backslash, Sword Bash will do more damage when striking the opponent from behind. Rex's side special is Rolling Smash, where he'll jump, do a flip, and then slam the sword on the ground. This does the most knockback out of all of Rex's special moves, with it being very strong, thus making it his best kill option out of the 4. Though don't use it by a ledge, otherwise he'll go straight down into oblivion. So that is where the up special would be useful if he wasn't stuck in the animation until hitting the ground. And in Rex's case, his up special is Anchor Shot. Wait a minute! You already used Anchor Shot for his grab! Well, this version of Anchor Shot is based on how Rex uses it for salvaging. Inputting the up special will have Rex fire his grappling hook directly above him, and if it makes contact with a grabbable ledge, then we'll pull him up and he'll automatically grab onto it as his recovery. But if the grappling hook touches an opponent, then it will grab them, and the player can move the control stick left or right to have Rex swing the opponent down to the ground in that direction, defaulting to the way he's facing. When the opponent hits the ground, they will slightly bounce off of it and land flat on their back to reference Anchor Shot's topple effect in combat. Alternatively, when an opponent is grabbed, there will be a brief moment to cancel the attack, making it so that another player can't intentionally let themselves get grabbed so Rex can't make it back to the stage. Missing with this attack or cancelling in midair will not send Rex into freefall. By using Process of Elimination, you can guess that the down special will be Double Spinning Edge. This has Rex spin while swinging the Aegis sword twice. It would look similar to Link's spin attack, except in this case, Rex doesn't get upward momentum when it's used in the air. The animation is a little slower, but it has greater range. He'll also move a little forward while using this move. Now, in the game, Double Spinning Edge has an effect where it does more damage when attacking the enemy from the side. This can't really be translated into Smash Bros, since the characters move in 2D space and can only face sideways to their opponents during the in-between frames of their turning around animation. So instead, I made it so Double Spinning Edge can hit enemies on either side of Rex, like with Spin Attack. You may have noticed a recurring trend with these special moves. All of them, except for the up special, have Rex move forward. This is so the player can't just spam the same moves repeatedly, otherwise Rex will end up moving too far away from Pyra or Mythra, with Rolling Smash covering the greatest distance. Finally, there is the final smash. They could just copy over Chain Attack from Shulk, but that would be boring. When I previously talked about Rex and Pyra, I suggested their final smash could be Sacred Arrow. However, that was because I hadn't finished Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at the time. So now that I have, I learned of a much better final smash idea for them. Just a heads up, from this moment on, spoilers. Pyra will transform into her third form. While this form doesn't really have an official name, I and everybody else choose to call her by the name of her core crystal, which she's also called in the game's official art book. Numa. Numa is the Aegis's true power, being incredibly powerful both in story and in gameplay. So utilizing her would be the most logical choice for a final smash where the characters go all out. Though addressing the elephant in the room, I can already see some of you asking, is this too big of a spoiler to include? And I think that is a fair point. but considering that they included Mecha Fiora in Shulk's final smash for Ultimate, and that is a major spoiler for the first game, as well as the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is over 2 years old, I think we're at the point where Sakurai wouldn't care about this being a spoiler. Anyway, for this final smash, Pyra/Mythra will transform into Numa, and they will perform their level 4 special, Infinity Blades. Rex and Numa will point the Aegis Sword skyward, where it will be struck by the Siren's beam fired off screen. This will create a big explosion, which doesn't do any damage, but rather freezes the opponents in place, even if they're in the air. Regardless of if the explosion hits anyone or not, the Aegis Sword will grow gigantic, and they will perform one powerful swing with it. Think the final hit of Kirby's Ultra Sword. This swing will cover an area slightly larger than the initial explosion, and do tremendous damage and knockback to anyone hit by it. If a player avoided the explosion, then they can still get hit by the sword. It's just that they now have the chance to dodge the sword as well. Also, even if Rex and Pyra are separated, she will simply teleport to his location upon activating the final smash. While the Infinity Blade special is exclusive to New Game Plus, it is how they finish off Malos, so it does appear during the main initial story. With the moveset covered, I now move on to their extra details, starting with their victory poses. The first pose will have Rex and Pyra triumphantly hold the Aegis Sword skyward like they do in the animation for Burning Sword. The second one would have Rex sheath the sword by copying his end of battle animation in the game as he and Pyra starts chilling before looking at the camera. And for their final victory pose, it will start with the Aegis Sword being planted in the ground. Then it will zoom out to show Rex and Pyra with their backs facing the camera as they stare off into the distance. This is how they appear on the game's box art, as well as how Rex is standing at the end of the reveal trailer, similar to what they're like on the title screen after finishing the game, and it even appears in concept art. It's a pretty synonymous pose with the game, so I thought it would be appropriate to have it appear in some form. As for their victory theme, Shulk's theme is a segment of You Will Know Our Names, but as that track doesn't normally appear in 2, I thought it would be fitting to make their theme a segment of You Will Recall Our Names, one of 2's unique monster battle themes. I even have a really bad mock-up for what it could sound like. Just imagine the following, but sped up a bit. Also, a really random idea I thought of was for one of their taunts to have Rex reference the Ardanian soldiers by shouting, "Think you can take me? Or don't forget me!" Similar to how Shulk references Rhyme Time. Shulk also played a big part in how I came up with their potential alternate colors. Shulk has colors referencing the other party members from the first game, plus an alternate costume. So I think it would make sense for Rex and Pyra to do the same by having their colors reference 2's party members and their signature blades respectively. Mythra also needs some alternate colors in the event there are multiple players who get her at the same time, but I had much more difficulty with her, so unfortunately I couldn't think of one for every single color, but I will mention the ones I did settle on. The first alternate color will have Rex wear yellow with red and white highlights and get silver hair, while Pyra is given a white and grey color scheme, which is based on Nia and Dromark. In this color, Mythra will get a white, red, and gold outfit and silver hair, which is based on Nia's blade form. The second color gives Rex light brown hair with a darker blue and cream colored outfit, while Pyra gets lilac hair and a black and metallic grey with red highlights color scheme for the rest of her body, based on Tora and Poppy. The third gives Rex black hair alongside a black outfit with white and red highlights, while Pyra becomes purple with blue highlights, based on Morag and Bridget. For this color, Mythra's black and white colors are swapped, and she gets light blue hair to reference Aegeon, the blade that belonged to Morag's brother Niall before being given to her. Then the fourth gives Rex dark grey hair while wearing a greyish color with hints of green and brown, as Pyra gets green hair with a black and violet outfit, based on Zeke and Pandoria. That's all of the permanent party members, but for the 5th color, I thought of making Rex wear green and red whilst having light grey hair, and Pyra becomes more of an orange color with hints of light blue and green to reference Van Damme and Rock. For the 6th color, I decided to go a bit more out there. Rex gets auburn hair and wears red and white, while Pyra gets an overall silver color, which is based on Laura and Jin as a reference to Torna, the Golden Country. I thought of a corresponding color for Mithra here that gives her brown hair with a red and white outfit that has a hint of green to reference Haze, Laura's other blade. As for the final color, this will be a semi-alternate costume as Rex wears his Numa armor. Meanwhile, Pyra and Mithra still get alternate colors, and I ended up thinking of a cool nod with them. These colors are based on Cosmos and Telos from Xenosaga, who appear as super rare blades in the game. That was everything to do with the characters themselves, but now that we know the second Fighters Pass will come with stages and music, I can confidently talk about them. For a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 stage, I wanted a place that looked visually distinct compared to Gao Plain, so it wouldn't look like a reskin. After that, I based my decision on which of the remaining areas were most popular with players, and thus I settled on More Ardain. I picture this as being a large stage like Gao Plain, with it being set on the Titan's wastelands, meaning there'll be a lot of cliffs and rocky structures to act as platforms. As More Ardain is very industrialized, with there being a bunch of machinery and mines in the wasteland, the stage could also have some metal structures with lifts and moving cargo to act as a way for players to traverse the stage. Potentially, they could also make a small underground section to reference the mines. I don't see the stage having any hazards, at least not like Metal Face, because you don't fight any recurring antagonists in the wastelands themselves, so there isn't much for me to suggest on this front other than one of the unique monsters, which I think wouldn't be too exciting. Though I could see them having a bunch of Ardanian soldiers and regular enemies wandering around in the background to make it livelier. As for the music tracks that would come with the stage, obviously adding on to the Xenoblade series music, while there are already free tracks from 2 in the game as is, there are still plenty more awesome tracks which are absent that could get brought in with this opportunity. Here are all the ones I felt were most suitable. You Will Recall Our Names should absolutely be in there, and then I added a bunch of the other themes in and out of battle that I felt either worked best or were popular enough. Even adding several from Torna the Golden Country, since I know everyone would at least want its battle theme. Unfortunately, Xenoblade hardly gets any remixes, so that's what I anticipate if this were to happen. I gave a remix to Counterattack, which is basically 2's equivalent to Engage the Enemy, just so the slower portions of the track can be sped up and given a different tone to benefit Smash Bros. And I also thought of the possibility of them making a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 medley, like they did with the first game, combining remixes of various tracks into one single track. And that was everything I could think of for if Rex and Pyra were in Smash Bros. I'm clinging on to that false hope very tightly in the lead up to whenever they start revealing the second Fighters Pass characters, because at this point, I want them in so bad! Not just because I really like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, despite how much it kicked my ass with its bosses, aside from Amalthus, or because I think they could have a great moveset, but also because it feels like they should already be in the game. They felt like a given until the Mii costume threw a spanner in the works, so them not being playable doesn't sit right with me in the pits of my stomach. And no, I don't consider Spirits a deconfirmation of characters, at least not the ones in the base game. If Rex and Pyra did get added as DLC after all this time, then I would be fully satisfied. I would have no qualms with any other DLC character after that, unless it's one I'd extremely dislike. Sure, there are other characters who I want, like Bandanity, but at the end of the day, I don't think I'd lose much sleep over them in this case. After already getting Ridley, K. Rool, Joker, and Byleth, having them added would be my way of attaining heaven, or Elysium in their case, in which I would have no issue with the roster at all. So I'll see you back here tomorrow when they get announced.